It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips, and as always, I'm alongside my co-host, Andrew J. Van Beber V. How are we doing tonight?
Fantastic. Great. Sorry we took a week off. We have too much life happening around here, I believe.
No, 100%. 100% too much life, but it was nice. Got to spend a little bit of extra time with the family. Did you guys do anything good in the last 2 weeks? Oh, and one of mine is going to be talking to us tonight.
That's all right. That's all right. She can.
How'd your weekend go? Anything good?
Well, you know, the Quiz Bowl. We had our district tournament this weekend, and for the second year in a row, we got second place. Lost by 1 point on the last question. It's frustrating.
What was the question?
It was what phylum of animal was used for bloodletting in the mid-16th century? And of course, if you think bloodletting, you automatically think what animal?
I don't know, a leech?
Yes. Okay. But the question asked for phylum. So when my team captain rung in and he said leech, I was like, oh, because I knew it was, and he missed it because you have to say the phylum and not the species. So, you know.
Well, what phylum does the leech?
I've already forgotten it because it's a repressed memory, and so I choose to forget it right now. So.
For sure. Do you guys have any sports people on your Quiz Bowl team?
Yes, we have. I have a phenomenal Finn O'Brien. I don't know if you knew Jack O'Brien or not, but Finn O'Brien is a walking sports almanac. His specialty. You will like this. His specialty is soccer. Is his specialty.
Good for him. Good.
And he is phenomenal as far as that. I've got great math guys. I've got good science guys. My great literature person graduated last year, and so, but we still have 2 weeks from Friday. We are heading to Chicago for the national tournament. To give a little applause there. And we are going to the national tournament in Chicago. Our superintendent, Dr. Todd Smith, who is very much a pro Quiz Bowl guy, said that as long as we did a good faith fundraiser, that the school would pay for it. And so on Friday, I'm sure you saw it on social media, we had Bedazzle V's Dome. I saw
that, yeah.
Yes, and so that was quite fun. Now we're in the school. Our boosters are providing money for each of the gentlemen. I'm only taking 6 of my 14, so we're going to drive up, and the sports boosters have provided them with some funds. The school is purchasing us some polos with Clopton Quiz Bowl, all that good stuff, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, we'll probably go up there and get roasted and toasted, but it's the experience, and nothing just pleases me more, I guess, than going and spending an entire weekend with 6 teenage boys crammed into a Ford Expedition going to Chicago on a 5-hour drive. So,
no, that actually is really exciting because definitely some of those on the road trips that I ever did with FBLA and Mo Yig at the time.
Yes,
were definitely a lot of some of my best memories.
We had some good memorable times, I believe, on the old Yig, whatever you want to call it, trips. Those were quite. I like having, I like doing the trip. I kind of talk tongue in cheek about it, but I do enjoy it's one of the perks of being a teacher is to get to know students on a different level, and it's you know it's great. So
Where at in Chicago is
we
the
will be
competition?
at the O'Hare Hyatt Regency. They're right there by the airport, and the whole shebang, our rooms and the tournament and everything, going to be right there. But we're going to head up early on Friday, do the tourist stuff Friday, afternoon and into the early evening, and then we'll catch some scrimmage games Friday night, and then Saturday begins the tournament. And I have no idea how many matches we're going to see on Saturday. And then if we make it into the championship bracket, we'll play on Sunday. For the consolation bracket, it's optional, and I'm going to leave it up to the guys. If I already know, of course, I may be surprised. I may be surprised when we go to the championship bracket. That would be great, but it is what it is. So, but no, we had that. We did some fun stuff. I watched a lot of basketball with my daughter. Strangely enough, I watched more women's basketball during this March Madness business. I watched more women's basketball than I did men's basketball, and I was reading a report from Nielsen the other day that said that this was the most watched female sports tournament of all time. And the championship.
No, I was about to say you and the rest of the world. I mean, it was
championship game had 14.2 million American viewers. 14 point,
yeah.
And that's saying something for the U.S. sports audience, because even the Women's World Cup doesn't got that much play. So I was
well, and I think that it had more viewership than every single NBA Finals game last year.
Yes, it did.
Had more than any World Series game last year.
Yep. It was, and I really take my hat off to the college. I mean, they stepped up their game. They had some really colorful personalities. Of course, Caitlin Clark, who my daughter absolutely adores, from Iowa, Angel Reese. I can't remember all their names now. She knew. I should have brought her down here, but she can tell you all of them. And I think it's good that the girls can see that. Hey, now they're taking they can take the main stage, and they can start, getting their notoriety that they deserve. Some of these kids who've worked hard for it all their lives, and now they're getting the notoriety that they deserve, which I thought was quite good. So
no, 100%. Because like you and I, we've talked about it on the show before. One of the big driving forces for our school financially was always women's sports.
Yeah.
Girls softball, girls basketball.
Was.
They've dominated. And so for like watching things like this, oh goodness, sorry, my little girl is trying to hear me talk. But if you remember, not too long ago, I don't know if you remember this. This might have been like around the time we had started the podcast or the year before, where like the women's college basketball team, like as they were preparing for March Madness, you saw the bags, like the gift bags that the men got.
Yep.
And then you looked at what the women got, and it was preposterous. And then same thing during the COVID bubble.
And the weight rooms.
Yeah, remember?
The weight rooms and everything else. I remember all that. Now that you say that, yep. That was, I think that the NCAA was, called on the carpet on that, and apparently they've upped their game a little. Like I said, upped their game. And the locker rooms were the other thing. I mean, these guys' locker rooms were just like short of, a clubhouse for Major League Baseball. Just recliners and TVs and everything. When the girls got the old school, hey, here's the bench and here's the chairs, and get ready and get dressed and let's go. So I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, and there's work that still needs to be done. Let me we talked about this not too long ago also, but so in my opinion, the best deal for sports sports viewership right now is MLS season pass on Apple TV. There is no blackouts for local games, no nothing. You pay
Mm-hmm.
you pay the fee, and for me, $70. And mind you, the soccer season lasts from
Long time.
early spring, March, or end of February, all the way until October is when the postseason starts.
Mm-hmm.
So you get so much for arguably not a whole lot of money. I would say it balances out to a little over, almost. We'll just round it up and say $2 a week, basically, for the amount of soccer that you get.
Right.
Now, in Kansas City, it's a bit of a bigger deal because they just opened KC, or is it CPKC Stadium? It's the first ever stadium built specifically for women's sports in the world. It's where the KC
Really?
Current plays. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Now, my only issue is they have this beautiful stadium. The American women's soccer team, national women's soccer team, is one of the best in the world. Usually we are supposed to win it unless there's an upset. But trying to find soccer games, the National Women's Soccer League, which is just like the American Women's Soccer League games,
Right.
is almost impossible. Like they might have one or two on ABC, and that's not even every
I don't.
week.
Yeah, and I'm going to say it's not really that often either. So
But we've seen this. There's like a lot of other sports that so one of the most frustrating for me, baseball and hockey. Hockey is frustrating because
everything.
ESPN and NHL signed a deal. I love watching the Blues when I can watch the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And however, living in Missouri, Blues games are blacked out. And the way to watch Blues games, because they're not aired locally, is to pay $20 a month for Bally Sports Plus, which barely works half the time.
Right, exactly.
And that includes the same thing with Cardinals games. Cardinals have a little bit more local coverage, but it is not even close to a third of what it used to be just a couple of years ago. So watching these sports, it's with everything that we continue to see. It's funny. Disney Plus just announced that they're about to test 2 live 24-hour running channels on Disney Plus, which will play. One will just stream Marvel content. The other will stream Star Wars content. You want to know what that sounds like? A lot of television.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like regular old television.
Yep.
And so we've talked about it. If you have shows that you want to watch and you scatter around, you have to have Apple TV, Paramount Plus, Netflix, Max, Peacock, the whole shebang, you end up paying the same price for cable, and yet there's still a bunch of content
right,
that is only still available on cable. Like tonight, this is what's crazy to me. Look at the numbers that were had for the college women's basketball game. This is by far, tonight is the WNBA draft. This is the most anticipated draft class of all time.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that because Caitlin Clark's there. I'm talking about from top to bottom. There are bona fide superstars in this draft class.
Right.
And you want to know what? It's not available on ESPN Plus. You have to pay. You have to have ESPN on cable, which again is extremely frustrating because if you want to grow a sport, like this sounds so silly. This might honestly sound stupid. It might be a stretch. But a rapper that I used to listen to growing up when I was in high school is a guy named Hoodie Allen, who did things independently. Yep. And he had a great line that I've always resonated, that I've loved, where he says that he'll be doing it for free until he's rich. God bless. And then he goes, yes, I admit it's complex. Well, meaning, if you want to build something, if you expect people to pay for something that they don't know anything about, you are never going to grow your sport. Okay? If you want advertisers to be able to showcase their what they have to offer, if you want advertisers to spend money, look at the NFL. Okay? The NFL has the broadcasting locked down and pat, because here's the deal. You get a plethora of local broadcast games. Usually throughout the day, there's usually 2 at noon in your local area, like on Fox and CBS or Fox and NBC. Then there's 2 at the 3 o'clock hour.
The 3 o'clock hour.
And then there's the primetime games.
Sunday night, Monday
now,
night
with
game.
the exception of Monday Night Football, which is on ESPN. However, it's also been on Hulu
and Thursday night on
ESPN.
And Thursday
on
Amazon.
Prime.
And So
some of the primetime things can be a hassle. However, but if you pay for YouTube, if you pay YouTube TV for NFL Sunday Ticket, which is I think about $200 a
200.
year.
Yeah,
I'm a student,
that
so I
sounds
get it a
about
little bit
right. Yeah.
cheaper. But which I actually like it. But if you pay for it, your local broadcast game, so like your local team. So if I was a Chiefs fan here in Kansas City, there's never going to be a Chiefs game on Sunday Ticket. However, I can just watch the local broadcast on
Over the
Fox,
air,
so it's
right.
not the big deal. I don't have to pay extra for Valley Sports. So if you like your local team, you're good. If you want to watch a team, like I'm a big Packers fan, so I watch a lot of them on YouTube TV, or then I see them when they're on the local broadcast. It's easy to collect that content. It is difficult, however, to watch the Blues. Like if I was a fucking Winnipeg Jets fan, I could watch every single Winnipeg game
And yeah, and not
throughout the season
because
because
it's
of
out of
ESPN,
market. It's not in your
because it's out of market,
right.
which again kills it because so my thing is when you have a budding sport like women, I don't care what anybody says. I legitimately think like Caitlin Clark, it is good. People talk shit. She didn't win the championship. Why are people overlooking South Carolina? They're the ones that won. Here's the deal. Caitlin Clark, if I'm not mistaken, and you can attest to this.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that coming out of high school, in my memory, and people might shit on this, but there were 3 legitimate bona fide superstars I remember hearing about coming to the NBA where it was like earth-shattering, changing the announcement that they were coming to the NBA. That was Kobe Bryant,
Right.
LeBron James,
Right.
and then the most recent one, in my opinion, and people can say I'm wrong, but the hype around this kid was insane, Zion Williamson.
Yeah, Zion Williamson from Duke, right? And
so Caitlin Clark has the same effect. They are moving basketball games in other cities. So like where the team in Vegas plays, they have moved their game to the T-Mobile Arena so that they can sell more tickets. Every single team like in the WNBA market that has a bigger stadium to play at in their city when they play Indiana is moving their game to that stadium because I saw it this weekend. I watched Lionel Messi play in Arrowhead Stadium. There were 72,600
and that's
people.
incredible. And that's wall to wall people almost. That's almost standing room only for Arrowhead. That's
and
when you told me that I was like, man, that has to be an electric atmosphere there.
It was amazing. And here's the thing. What gets me, this was what was really annoying to me. I get in America, soccer is not the biggest sport. It's not going to ever be the biggest sport. However, people shitting on the sport without giving it a chance is so frustrating. There were people that were just talking so much shit about, it's the Messi effect. It's the Messi effect. Messi coming to America was a phenomenal thing for American soccer because people were legitimately getting to see U.S. athletes give it their all against bona fide superstars. You want to know what else happened? Other teams around the league invested into foreign players that are bona fide superstars. Okay, they are doing it because the sport is growing. It's growing in America. So Apple was so smart to snap up the rights.
Going and getting it.
It was a 10-year. And guess what? Here's this. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't even a ton of money. It was $1 billion for 10 years.
And they're going the return on that. If, like you said, if you continue to see the Messis, the Ronaldo, the guys like this come over here and play in MLS, you're going to see the sport grow here, and they're going to make their money. But they're going to make their money back. But I find this interesting though, that more, like you said, more streaming channels are getting are going to get sports. You and I've talked about Netflix getting WWE. That's to me that's going to, I guess USA and Fox I guess just didn't want to foot the bill anymore. I mean, do you know anything about why they went with Netflix, or did they give them a better deal, or what?
Well, yeah, Netflix is paying them a shit ton of cash. But here's the thing, it's almost frustrating because like I said, I love easily accessible content. When you put things like, here's the thing: is Netflix technically a paywall? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, Netflix is in over 130 million television homes.
Still
in the
leading,
United States alone.
Still the leading streamer. Still the leading streamer.
And so here's the thing: more people have Netflix than they have DirecTV, than they have cable, than they have Dish Network.
Right.
So Netflix and the WWE partnering up, it's a couple things. It's a test for Netflix to see how well weekly live broadcasts will work for their platform. They have other tests that they're doing. Like, in my humble opinion, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight is a legit test for the WWE. They are testing to see what their capabilities are of their live broadcast. And I think they're going to do other sports. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get involved in things like Formula One.
Yeah. Well, somebody's already doing. I think somebody's already doing Formula One, aren't they? Somebody's already streaming Formula One.
I think it's Paramount or ESPN.
I think you're right. I think it's Paramount.
Yeah, and so the thing is, so Netflix, gave WWE crazy money, crazy money, and then so where it gets interesting is USA and NBC, because USA is owned by NBC, so which is Peacock, so that's the same parent company.
Mm-hmm.
So SmackDown is actually moving to USA Network on Friday nights. Now for me, that's a bummer because Fox is free. Fox is a free broadcast.
Right.
So you do the right thing by moving. You move Raw to Netflix, where they will have access to more viewers than they ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
But then you move SmackDown to another paywall with USA Network, which is frustrating. Now, here's the deal: they wouldn't have done it if it didn't make more sense financially, and that's just the truth. Like, truthfully, WWE could kind of, I wouldn't say care less about viewership, but if the money is guaranteed, they're going to take the guaranteed money.
Oh yeah.
Because this is the thing: like, they're only a couple years into their Fox deal. Like, their Fox deal was for 10 years. So, and I don't even know if they'll be at 5 or 6 by the time it's all said and done for SmackDown. So they were smart where WWE had an opt-out clause, whereas Fox was locked in for 10 years. WWE had the right to
pull out if they
pull and move and take a better deal at a certain amount of time.
Well,
so
the thing that so with that, and another one I want to bring up, and so another one that's on this paywall, as you call it, is Peacock. Okay, so Peacock did the wild card game, the AFC wild card game with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Okay, and I looked up some stats about that.
I remember that.
Leading up to the game. Okay. Peacock, the week before the game, Peacock added 2.8 million subscribers the week before the game, and what's really after that, you still had I think it was like 65 to 70% retention of those 2.8 million subscribers after the game was over. So that's a brilliant move. But I also have a problem though, and you mentioned this with Raw, with SmackDown to USA. Okay, the NCAA, back to NCAA, the NCAA men's championship game was on TNT. It's usually on CBS. Okay, so now I think this movement to going, if I'm not of course I've got a Fire Stick, okay, and I've got the whole jailbroke. I pay for a service, and I have I have literally probably close to 16,000 channels international. I've got soccer channels. I've got everything. And if I was just Joe average Joe citizen over the air antenna, I would be pissed. I would be pissed if so because eventually the networks are going to NFL, MLB. Well, MLB's already pretty much off of local broadcast. I don't think
it's such a joke.
MLB. I don't think MLB is on any. Because growing up, every Cardinal game was on KPLR 11 out of St. Louis. That guaranteed. You could get every Channel 11 out of St. Louis. You could get every Cardinal game.
I remember my grandma Ravina, before she died, anytime, like, if we went over there and, like, I mean, even, your Tuesday at 2 p.m. games, like, she had on. And she had basic cable, but they were all on KPLR, every single one of them.
And it was when I lived in Chicago, when I lived up near Chicago, of course, I hate the Cubs, but WGN used to be an over-the-air TV network, and you could get, WGN was like the KPLR of Chicago. It was, you got every Cubs game. And now, and again, I have one of my best friends is a huge Cubs fan, and he had to upgrade so they signed a deal. They're not with Bally. Cubs are with this. It's called Marquee Sports Network, and they are solely for broadcast of Cubs games. And so and it's not available on if you go with Direct or you go with your local. It's that next tier up. And in the end, who's and you and I talked about this. Who's winning? Who's winning with all of this? It's not. MLB, NFL. These guys are making hand over fist, straight up cash in the bank, and we're seeing this with ticket prices. We're seeing this with all these cable deals. We're selling, and what's bad about it is the consumer, they've got us over the barrel and we can't do anything about it. So we have to pay. If we want to watch our team, like you said earlier, if we want to watch our team, we've got to go above and beyond and subscribe to that service. Which, like I said, if you're an MLS, like you said, if you're an MLS fan, you've got the best of all worlds because you've got, on Apple Plus, you've got the. I think it actually comes with Apple Plus. I'm not sure. I've watched a couple of soccer games on MLS with.
So you have the options. So I just at the moment I just pay for season pass. So I don't get regular Apple TV. I don't have to pay the monthly. Which again, if all you care about is the soccer, is a great deal.
Yeah, it is.
So like I said, it was $69.99 for the year.
That's a steal.
And I don't have to pay the $10 a month for Apple TV. I just paid the one-time thing. Now, if you have Apple TV, like you do pay the regular $10, I think you could have gotten it a little cheaper. And I think I actually signed up for mine early enough. Like I think normally it might be $99.99. Unless you have Apple TV, then it was $79.99. But because I signed up early, I got like the early bird special.
Right.
And again, yeah, it's just, and you get every single game. Now, the only thing that Apple TV that I hope they bring next season or after the mid-season break, I hope that they bring to it is multi-view.
Yes,
that's the
right.
only complaint that I have. But if you have Apple TV, like you pay the $9.99 and you don't have season pass, every week I do believe there's 2 free games.
Yes,
there's 2 games.
There's 2 free, and see that's how I'm able to watch I get with Apple Plus I get. Well, of course, I got Apple Plus because I also use Apple Fitness, Apple Music, Apple News, and I get it. To me, that's still one of the best bargains is for $39 a month. You get all that stuff, plus you get
100%.
Plus, you get two, like you said. I also get a. It's usually an out of market. Like tonight, I just was looking through tonight while you were talking. We'll see what the game. It was the White Sox and somebody else was playing. White Sox and Tigers were playing tonight, and you could watch that game for free. So I mean, Apple is, and I know they're doing that. Like you said, they're testing. They're doing the test to see what can what kind of viewership can we get, because and that's the other thing with these streaming services, you don't have to wait for Nielsen ratings anymore. They know. I mean, the moment that you click on, because the way their algorithm works, they know how many people are watching what and what's what. It's like whenever they do a movie, how many people are watching, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom this week? How many people are watching Star Wars this week? How many people clicked on Marvel content this week? And so they have instant numbers where they can say, boom, man, viewership on the St. Louis, St. Louis versus Kansas City game got X million viewers, and that way, and that's going to streamline. I think it's going to streamline a lot of things, because these guys, then they'll know how to market it. They'll know who they're going to market to. They'll need to know, okay, here's where we need to be putting our focus on. It's a brilliant move for them, but it's. I don't know if I want to say it's going to hurt viewership or not, or if it's going to help viewership. But I mean, like you said, if you make it to where it's easily attained, I'm all for it. Now, here's the other thing. If this trend continues, how much of a shelf life does Netflix not Netflix, DirecTV and Dish Network have left? I mean, because they're already trying. You already have a DirecTV streaming service. You've had Sling TV, which is Dish Network's their streaming service. I mean, how much more of a life do these guys have left if you can get everything you want through your Netflix, Hulu? I mean, I've got all that stuff, and I mean, I'll watch more stuff off of Netflix, Hulu. So we have Netflix, Hulu, Max, Apple, Netflix, ESPN. I've got ESPN Plus because I watch NFL primetime on there during. I mean, we very rarely watch anything off of just regular cable. I mean, I don't really have a reason to anymore. So I don't know. I mean, is this going to be the end for DirecTV and Dish Network? I mean, or are you going to just see people just continue to go with that?
It's interesting. I would say, unless they take, because I want to know, like, if AT&T, like, what they lose from, because they bought DirecTV. So I want to know. Yeah, AT&T owns DirecTV. So wow. I want to know what they lose each year for operating DirecTV services, if they do lose, or based off of, what they paid, how much do they have to be profitable each year for that investment to have paid off. But again, and maybe I'm dumb, but I want to know where the justification of the cost breakdown goes. Because when networks are on, and I might be grossly misspeaking when I say this, so please fact check me on this, but it is to my understanding that, let's say I'm DirecTV and I want to have Cartoon Network, Disney Plus, because I know those are going to draw in young viewers, right? Those are going to draw in families to get my service, ESPN, all those things. It is DirecTV that has to pay a fee to those companies to have their networks on. I don't think that it's vice versa. I don't believe that Disney has to pay DirecTV to be on DirecTV. Now, because I remember there was a while ago where ESPN, Disney, and a couple other stations were off of YouTube TV. And YouTube basically Google put a statement out that was like, due to the greediness of Disney wanting more money, we have not come to an agreement. Yeah, it was like something like that. It was hilarious, actually.
Let me read this. Let me read something to you real quick. I just, as you were talking about AT&T, I just did just a straight search for AT&T's return on buying DirecTV. This was interesting. In one period of just over 4 years, AT&T lost more than 9.5 million customers from its premium TV service division, which included DirecTV Satellite, U-verse wireline video, and the newer AT&T TV online service. I didn't even know that existed. The category decreased from over 25 million subscribers in quarter one to 15.4 million halfway through. This was in 2021. Okay, so AT&T continually raised prices, eliminated promotional deals as the company set a higher average revenue per customer, but fell from first to third in total TV subscribers. DirecTV's value rapidly declined under AT&T stewardship as the company reported a $15.5 billion impairment charge in January of 21. AT&T said last month that DirecTV TPG deal will lower AT&T's expected revenue for the remainder of the year by $9 billion. Wow.
Good Lord.
Talk about buyer's remorse. Holy cow.
And that's what I'm talking about, because like if you want like, even if you don't want the satellite, let's say I paid for DirecTV's streaming option.
Yeah.
I think the cheapest monthly option is like $80 a month.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. I know Sling. I remember Sling used to be like this is the one, because it was $20.
Yeah.
It's $40 now. It's $40 a month now if you want Sling TV. And so for me, it's like I look at it and I go, well, that's not worth it, because if you have, let's just say you have 4 streaming services. So like if you have Peacock, Paramount, Netflix, Disney, that's $40 right there.
Easily.
Almost.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you add another 40 on top. That's $80. That's the same that you were spending on cable, which is why people, quote unquote, cut the cord. Businesses are going to do everything for them. So for me, it's like there's days where I miss having things like cable, having things like DirecTV. However, $80 a month is not worth it. It is clear cut, not worth it to me. $40 a month even isn't really worth it. And then if you look at Sling TV's lineup, like,
their channel lineup is
awful. Terrible. Terrible. So, for me, like, because my thing is like, I would want things like ESPN and stuff like that. There's a couple other channels I would like, but it's like, I'm not going to pay $40 a month for ESPN.
So you have to weigh the two things again. So I just, as you're saying this, okay, so I've got my budget sheet out. So we have Disney, Amazon, of course, Amazon we got for Amazon Prime, but we still get Amazon Video, Apple, HBO Max, going down through Disney, Hulu, and Netflix. Okay, I spend $103, and I've never, up until now, I don't know why but I spend $103 a month on.
Say which ones you have again. Give me the rundown of which ones you have again.
Disney, Amazon, Apple, Max, and of course with Disney, you're getting Hulu, and I get ESPN Plus with that as well. And then Netflix. So $103. So, but at the same time, like I said before, my kids, Bryson loves Young Sheldon. And you can watch Young Sheldon out the yang on HBO Max. I used to watch Friends a lot. But whenever I need my Friends fix, I go HBO Max. My wife and my daughter love Stranger Things. Well, they do. They go to Netflix. And like I said, during football season, every Sunday night I watch NFL Primetime because I think it's the best breakdown of football. Even though some people don't like Chris Berman, I still like to watch NFL Primetime on ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus 2 has allowed me to watch some of my buddies who I used to teach with who are now coaching in D2 football I can watch my buddy will send me, hey, we're playing such and such this week, and it's going to be on ESPN Plus. I can go ESPN Plus, catch the games. So, I mean, I see this as the future. I really do, and I think that, and I just want to go back, and I kind of want to go just a different direction just for a little bit, because I know you are the wrestling aficionado, and I'm slowly getting into it, and I'm more into wrestling than I'm fighting, but the fights now are, they're billing these and they're making these so much bigger now that people are going to subscribe. I mean, this last WrestleMania event, my hat is off to it's Triple H, but Paul Levesque. Paul Levesque is doing a knockdown job over there at WWE. I think he's got that product heading in the right direction. When you look at where, and then being with UFC, WWE, what's that? So what's that company called now? What do they call it? Since they merged, what's the name of it?
Oh, TKO.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I guess the point I'm looking at is when you look at all of these things coming together like this, I mean, are we going back just to having, where what we fought against way back when the government tried to say, okay, we need to go into smaller units. We're coming back into larger units. You know what I'm saying? Is this going to be good for American consumers, or is this going to be bad for American consumers?
It's tough. I mean, it really is, because, like I said, I love accessibility. I hate putting things behind a paywall. I understand why they do.
Mm-hmm.
But, we are such a sports-driven culture. Like, regardless of, like, how people want to, even if you don't like sports, communities are driven by sports. They're driven by local sports teams in your high schools and your colleges and your little leagues, and then they are driven by pro sports teams, who, again, unfortunately, pro sports teams have some of the greedy, and mind you, that's a whole nother thing, is a lot of these deals happen because of the greedy, stupid son of a bitch owners that own a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Mr. Hunt, who I don't even want to get into it.
I knew it.
You have a team that has won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, is on a generational dynasty run, and yet you are voted 32 out of 32 by the people that work in your building, your players, on how they are treated, the services provided for them, the facility.
Facilities.
It is pathetic. But mind you, when that piece of shit was part of the reason why Kroenke uprooted the Rams out of St. Louis.
And now
the Hunt family, mind you, the second richest family in the NFL, they are crooks. They are absolute crooks. And yet a good thing is the Kansas City Royals, who, mind you, and here's my take on this, petitioned to put a new baseball stadium downtown because
that failed.
Numbers have not been very good. It failed, thankfully, because they were going to remove businesses.
Yep.
Here's the deal. They won the World Series a decade ago. The Royals did.
It's now, longer than that, hasn't it?
Nah, 2015.
So, yeah. Oh, 2008, right. Yeah.
So here's the deal. It was 30 years before that.
Yep.
You want, and they're complaining about numbers. If you go back the year after the Royals won the World Series, they didn't make the playoffs.
They sold everything.
I don't know if
sold everybody off.
I don't know if they've made the playoffs since.
Maybe
once. So here's the thing. You expect people to just show up when you clearly, as management, don't give a shit about the team. You expect that just, we'll build a new stadium that'll give me what I want. Otherwise, I'm going to move the team.
You can't do that, because you have to put. Here's the thing: you can build all the. When Kroenke built, you mentioned Kroenke, when he built, was it SoFi Stadium? I forgot how many billions of dollars he sunk into that. you know, I don't know how many sold out games. I would venture to guess probably maybe a couple of handfuls of sold out games that place has had with the Rams.
SoFi?
Yeah.
I don't think SoFi's had one sellout.
So, I mean, but yet he's like, well, and this pissed me and you off both, because when, the statement that will forever that burns in every Midwesterner's crawl is that he said, "Oh, St. Louis is a terrible sports town." But yet now you go down there to Alex Ellison, our friend who we have on from time to time, was at a Battlehawks game 2 weeks ago. And he said, great game. And the three of the tiers sold out. 3 tiers. And it's because they're putting, the Battlehawks are putting a quality, I mean, it's minor league football, but they're putting quality out there in the field. If you put out a quality product, people will come to see it. It's not so much, it's like, I grew up a Bulls fan. I grew up during the 90s when the Bulls were doing their dynasty runs. And United Center, you couldn't get a ticket during the 90s to go see a Bulls game. Well, now I could walk up to the ticket window. When we take our Quizable team up there, I bet you we could probably walk up to the ticket window, probably get a $25 ticket for, third tier seats, because it's not a quality product anymore. So if Kansas City wants to say, okay, we're going to build this new stadium, like you said, and we're going to get what we want if we build this new stadium, it's not the Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. No, they won't. You've got to get out of your greediness and your $1 billion profits, put the money out and pay your players, take care of your players, get good players, and you'll have a good product. Like you said with Kansas City, when I read that same report, 32 out of 32 in everything, and the Hunts have, like you said, I'm a huge Kansas City fan. I am not a Hunt fan by any shape of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, and when Stan Kroenke was Virginia Fontaine, was that who owned it before Stan Kroenke, the Rams? Was that her name, Virginia Fontaine?
Maybe
La Fontaine or Fontaine, something like that. And she was the owner when they went to the Super Bowl, when the Rams went to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You get these owners. It's a dying breed of owners who actually, the top one in that same report about one of the top ranked teams as far as players had, it was like, I think it was the Jaguars, and that's that Middle Eastern guy who owns Huh? Yeah. He knows how to take care of his players. They may not be winning, but they're selling tickets. He's got players that are loyal, They don't complain. I mean, yeah, that's kind of like a journeyman team, but he still takes care of his players.
And like you said, when Stan talked all that shit about St. Louis being a horrible pro sports town, that game that the Battlehawks had, which, mind you, broke the spring
indoor
football attendance record of 40,000. But here's this. At the same time that game was going on, STLSC had a sold-out crowd of 22,000, and the St. Louis Cardinals had a crowd of well over 25,000 at the same exact time as that game. So you mean to tell me that 80,000 people were
not a sports town? Not a sports town. Yeah. No, not a sport. If I wasn't a Christian, I would say certain things about Stan Kroenke that wouldn't glorify God in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not going to say it, because I think out of all he and Jerry Jones to me are like the biggest leeches on the sports world. You know
what? But at least I'll give Jerry Jones credit where credit's due. He paid cash money for his $1 billion stadium that he built. And, that is the only credit that I will give him where credit's due, is he said, I've got a vision, I'm going to build it. And yet here we are with everywhere else.
And it's technically not in, it's between Dallas, it's in Irving, Texas. It's between Dallas and Fort Worth I think I don't know if that's I-10 or what that is, what it's on there. But it's right. I've driven by. I mean, it's a massive complex. He built it. He's like, I'm not going to take anybody's tax money here. I'm
Yeah,
Irving,
it's a town.
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
shoot. Well, heck.
Well,
Anyway, we rambled on about nothing for 50 minutes. That's pretty good.
no, it was a good one. I'm excited. We've got a pretty good show lined up. We are waiting for a good friend of ours to join the show because he'll have a lot better insight on the topic at hand than either of us will. So we will be announcing that here soon. But no, it was fun talking to you. Sorry that my baby yelled at us a couple of times.
No, that's okay.
There,
I love hearing Lily. And by the way, the wedding date is getting close there, pal.
Yep, coming up just a few months away, and we're rocking and rolling, getting ready for it.
Yeah,
So we're excited.
I'm excited. I get to be the DJ for the evening, and I'm so very much excited for that. So that'll be fun for all. Fun for all. Anyway.
Well, to our listeners, thanks again for listening to us babble. To our TikTok fans, continue to like the video, comment, talk all the shit, please, and then hit that follow button as we get ready, because we are so close to being able to go live on TikTok, which again will help boost our numbers even more. So to our friends, to our fans, thank you all so much for listening, and I look forward to doing this next week.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.